So we have been actually on this journey of Sravan Utsav, and for the last few days, we have been hearing from wonderful devotees, wonderful pastimes of Lord Krishna. And today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Damodar Prabhuji amongst all of us in this virtual Sravan Utsav. So a brief introduction of Damodar Prabhuji. Damodar Prabhuji is a faculty at Bhaktivedanta Vidyapit for teaching Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita at Govardhan Eco Village. He also teaches Bhakti Shastri and Bhakti Vaibhav courses at Mayapur Institute. Prabhuji is a member of the Care Counselors Board at ISKCON Chowpatty, and he travels widely to conduct the Devotee Care course, which is an initiative of ISKCON GBC. In fact, I was trying to organize with Damodar Prabhuji when we met 2 years ago, that how we can conduct that program here, but unfortunately COVID pandemic struck. Otherwise, we were hoping that Damodar Prabhuji will travel here and conduct that devotee care course here. But maybe we can look at an option of doing that virtually now, if it is at all possible, Prabhuji. Prabhuji holds a master's degree in mechanical engineering from IIT Mumbai. And under his guidance, the kitchen at ISKCON Chowpatty and Govardhan Eco Village is also ISO 22000 certified. His kitchen team has been successfully organizing Mega Yatra Kitchen on wheels, feeding more than 6,000 devotees daily in annual Kartik Yatras, and more than 10,000 pilgrims every day in Kumbh Melas. So Prabhuji is a very versatile devotee. He's an all-round devotee. He can actually feed thousands of devotees. He can actually feed the ears of thousands of devotees with the nectar. And he can also take care of devotees through devotee care and many courses like that. So let us welcome Prabhuji by loudly chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you very much, Damodar Prabhuji, for joining us.
Hare Krishna. So we'll just begin with the brief invocation prayers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pisthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shandevadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So I am feeling very happy to see all the devotees. It's an amazing, wonderful group of devotees. I just saw many faces, many blissful, effulgent faces of the devotees. So I am feeling blessed by Lord Krishna and Prabhupada to be in your association tonight. It is first of all, I would like to again thank His Grace Amrish Maharaj Prabhu and also Her Grace Anang Manjari Mataji for conducting and facilitating this wonderful program. It is Janmashtami special, the series Krishna Book. Also, I was thinking that this is Prabhupada's 125th year appearance anniversary, so it is very befitting to read Krishna Book, because Prabhupada would especially love to read Krishna Book. There are pastimes where Prabhupada, he became excited like a child on reading Krishna Book, especially the fun-loving pastimes of Krishna and Balaram. He would kind of started patting his thighs and so on in excitement, just like a child when told exciting stories. So there are many such pastimes of Prabhupada. He would really love Krishna book, and we can see his love for Krishna in his words also in the Krishna book. So therefore it is a beautiful act of gratitude also towards Prabhupada that we want to read his Krishna book or his favorite Krishna book. Once the devotees had asked Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, what pleases you the most? Of course, Prabhupada has given a variety of services which pleases him, but on one occasion he said, he gave a deep answer basically. He said, if you love Krishna, that will please me. So basically all other services are meant to develop our inherent dormant love for the Lord. And the Krishna book is a beautiful way of doing that. And Prabhupada encouraged all of us to read Krishna book, at the end of the day. So it's the most beautiful way to end our day also. So therefore, let's read Krishna book. So I'm narrating basically. So what I'm going to do is, now it's 8:05. I'll speak around 40 minutes. I narrate the pastime. Of course, Prabhupada is also kind of given the narration in Krishna book. Well, I'll just add some more insights from the Srimad Bhagavatam translations and the commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Prabhupada in the very first canto encourages, he says, all sincere students of Srimad Bhagavatam should study the commentaries given by the Acharya and especially Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So he has given a beautiful commentary. So I'll add some insights from there which will further sweeten this narration. So just at the end of the last chapter, Shukdev Goswami, he just briefly narrates this story. So Krishna and Balaram are in the forest and it's a very hot day, summer day. The cows, they all feel intense thirst and they just go ahead in a haste, and the cowherd boys were behind, Krishna was also behind, and they drink this poisonous water and they all die. The Lord revives them and he purifies the lake then and banishes Kāliya, and that's it. Right? In a one paragraph, in few verses, at the end of 15th chapter, this pastime is narrated. Then Shukdev Goswami waits to see how does Parikshit Maharaj responds. So in between, Shukdev Goswami, he tests the eagerness of Parikshit Maharaj, because if we are tired of hearing, then we would like the speaker to summarize, at times. We don't want, to speak elaborately when we are toward the end of it, we are tired. So, the summary can be given. So kind of in between, Shukdev Goswami gives the summary and sees the eagerness of Parikshit Maharaj. So after he just narrated the whole story, Parikshit could have just said, okay, what's the next story? That could have been one response. But immediately he wants to know the details. So Parikshit Maharaj inquires about the details. And that shows that he still have that eagerness to hear more. So actually in this Srimad Bhagavatam, we will see from the first canto till the 12th canto, Parikshit Maharaj's eagerness to go on hearing Krishna Katha, that eagerness also increases as he goes on hearing, which is not so usual. So therefore, this is also usually what is seen is the person is very enthusiastic, eager in the beginning, first decade of Krishna consciousness or so. Then gradually, a person's kind of settles down. He becomes more practical person and so on. So in this way, usually we don't see that a person's eagerness, as the number of years goes by, a person becomes increasingly eager to hear, chant and glorify Krishna. This is actually not so usual as such. But in Parikshit's case, we see his eagerness to hear about Krishna goes on increasing, and he's fasting also on all these days. what Sukadeva Goswami, he tests Parikshit eagerness in between. Therefore, at the end of 15th chapter also, he tests Parikshit Maharaj eagerness. And this is actually a very healthy sign of one's spiritual life, that we go on hearing, or our eagerness to hear about Krishna should not go down, rather it should increase. So thus, Prabhupada also writes in the Krishna book, rather in the very beginning, in the 4th line only, Prabhupada says, I'm just reading some exact lines of Prabhupada. Prabhupada writes, when this story was narrated by Shukadeva Goswami, that means the story of Kāliya and Krishna chastising, Maharaj Parikshit became eager to hear more about Krishna's childhood pastime. This is the very beginning. This is how Prabhupada begins his narration over here. So he became very eager to hear more about Krishna's childhood pastime. That means he wants to hear more details of this pastime also, this particular pastime. And thus he inquired from Shukadeva Goswami how Krishna chastised Kāliya. And how is it that he was living in this lake for so many years and so on. It's all the details of this pastimes. And further Prabhupada writes, again he writes in the same paragraph, 2nd paragraph, Maharaj Parikshit was becoming more and more enthusiastic to hear. So in the same small paragraph, twice Prabhupada is writing that Parikshit Maharaj is very eager, he is very enthusiastic to hear more. So in this way, this is how the pastime begins, or how the chapter 16 begins. Okay, so now Sukadeva Goswami begins that there was one side lake. It was not in the mainstream current of Yamuna. There was a side lake, the Kāliya lake. Now we call it a Kāliya lake. There was a big lake, and the other scriptures and Puranas describe it was 1 yojana wide lake, 8 miles wide lake. That means really huge. And it had the depth of the lake was also fathomless, very deep lake. So quite a huge, 8 miles is not a small, it's very, very wide lake and very, very deep also. Kāliya was residing in this particular lake. And this lake had, and of course Kāliya, and surrounded by all his other serpents who were very poisonous. So the whole lake had become very poisonous. Now Lord Krishna, he noticed that. Of course, this has been already narrated that toward the end of the last chapter, that all the cows became thirsty and they drank water. All the cowherd boys also drank water. Usually the cowherd boys should see, there were unpleasant fumes around. They could have suspected, but they were quite intensely thirsty. So just and by the Lord's Leela Shakti, their intelligence became covered and so on. So they drank this water. Because it is described that there was a unpleasant vapors around this lake and up to a distance of 8 miles. Again, the lake was 8 miles wide, but because of the poisonous fumes around this lake, the whole atmosphere around the lake, 8 miles around the lake, that was also very unpleasant from the fumes. So normally they could have suspected, but again the Lord's pastime, the Lord's Yogamaya, it covered their knowledge. They could not detect, and they just drank the poisonous water, and they all died. And of course, Krishna immediately revived them. So it's mentioned that here we got a small lesson that the lake, it was actually a very pure lake originally, being the waters of Yamuna. But the Kāliya who was residing there, the Kāliya made the lake poisonous. So our pure consciousness, the soul's original Krishna conscious, pure consciousness, that is pure like river Yamuna, the original pure lake. Kāliya represents the envy. We will see some more lessons from there as we go ahead. So Kāliya represents the envy. So the original pure lake, the original pure consciousness of the soul has been poisoned by the Kāliya of envy. Okay, so now after Krishna revived, after Krishna revived his cowherd boyfriends, he revived the cows. Then he now desired to punish. He desired to actually kill the Kāliya. So another small lesson we get from here is that Kāliya, he was living in Vrindavan. He was constantly taking a dip in the holy river. He was living beneath the river Yamuna, right? That means constantly taking a holy dip. But still, his consciousness was not holy. Right? Still, his attitude was not holy. So therefore, just the holy place or just being in a holy surrounding doesn't make our attitude holy. We have to make an effort. We have to chant the holy name and we have to take advantage of the holy association to become a holy person. So simply just by being in a holy place, if someone just stays in a temple or in a dham, doesn't mean the person will become a holy. So one has to put an effort to chant the holy name, then be in the holy association, take advantage of the association. Our effort is very much needed to change our attitude. So Lord Krishna has been described that he has appeared just to subdue the khalas, right, the villains. And Kāliya is also one of the great villains in Krishna Leela. Krishna has appeared to subdue the villains and therefore he decided to subdue Kāliya. He climbed on a Kadamba tree, which was just on the banks of this great lake. So now it's mentioned that due to the poisonous fumes around this lake, all the vegetation had died. Everything had died. But this tree, some Acharya say that as soon as Krishna stepped on the tree came back to life. The more common, which Vishwanath Thakur also gives the insight is, he says, Garud Dev there's a story that he has snatched the nectar from the Devatas, from the heavens, and he had dropped few drops of nectar on this tree while he was flying, knowing that Krishna will, this tree is going to assist Krishna in his pastimes. So Prabhupada also writes this, both in the Krishna book, Prabhupada gives both these comments of the Acharyas. So, so this tree was still alive, basically. The only alive tree on the bank of Yamuna near the lake was this Kadamba tree, and Krishna climbed on the top of this Kadamba tree. One lesson we get from here is this actually the whole material world can be compared to this Kāliya lake, right? Because everyone in this lake or everyone around this lake, all the vegetation, animals, they had died. That means everyone in this material world is spiritually dead, not being Krishna conscious. And what is a life? The nectar is compared to life, and the nectar of the holy name. Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam. Those who are being tormented in this material world, the nectar which kept this tree alive was the poured by Garuda. For us, the nectar is the nectar of Lord's pastime, the nectar of Lord's holy name. So therefore, this material world is actually Jad Jagat means the dead place. Everyone here is Krishna unconscious, it's spiritually dead. But what revives our spiritual consciousness, what brings life, is the nectar. Just like this one tree was alive, and that nectar is Krishna's holy name, Krishna's pastimes. So now Krishna climbed on this tree, and it's described that Krishna, he decided to jump from a tree. He could have just he could have just entered directly also, but Krishna wanted to take a dive. Right? For taking a dive, you have to climb some high platform, right, and dive deep. So the Lord performed this pastime in a dramatic way, right, to create some excitement for us. So therefore, Lord wanted to perform this pastime in the most wonderful way. So he climbed to the highest place, to the highest branch of this tree, and then he jumped from that high place. And it said that the whole lake kind of, the water splashed, as if, you know, the river Yamuna is embracing, and it parted into two. And the water splashed up to 100 bow lengths, you can say approximately more than 200 meters. Just imagine, and Prabhupada is writing here that Krishna is a small boy, you know, small boy diving, whatever height you may dive from. How much the water will splash? Just few drops may splash on the shore. But you know, more than 200 meters the water splashed. That's how, that was the, you know, the force of Krishna diving. So it's a great you know, adventurous, very dramatic pastime that is taking place. So the water splashed and it creates a huge sound which could not be unnoticed by the Kāliya. Right? Kāliya was residing within this lake. Now it's mentioned that this Kāliya is not an ordinary serpent. First of all, he is a 1,000-hooded snake, and he had 100 prominent hoods. He was a 1,000-hooded snake, but 100 prominent hoods he had, and he was a great mystic. He was not a just because he had number of heads. He was a great mystic. He had the siddhi called Jal Stamba, means he could create, Stamba means pillar, or he could create the solid construction beneath the water. So therefore he had created his palatial houses for him and his associates within the water, deep within the water. But Krishna made such a sound that Kāliya immediately heard that, and he recognized that someone is trying to trespass. And Kāliya became furious, and he immediately came out to see that who has come, because no one could just be living nearby, who the person who entered within the lake. So it was quite surprising for Kāliya. And Kāliya comes out and he sees Krishna standing before him. And Prabhupada writes, I am just reading from the Krishna Book. Kāliya saw that Krishna was indeed worth seeing because his body was so beautiful and delicate. Its color resembled that of a cloud, and his legs resembled a lotus flower. He was decorated with shrivats, jewels, and yellow garments. And of course, Krishna had a beautiful smile on his face. So Prabhupada describes the beauty of Krishna. Shukdev Goswami also describes the beauty of Krishna. But Kāliya, although Krishna is so beautiful, Kāliya could not appreciate Krishna's beauty. His anger further increased on seeing Krishna. So therefore, actually, the perception of reality, how do we perceive reality? The perception of reality happens through our consciousness. So because Kāliya is having envy within his heart, therefore he could not appreciate the Lord's beauty. It's mentioned in the very beginning, in a verse. It's mentioned that Krishna is also black. 3 times the word Krishna used. Krishna is black, Yamuna is also black in complexion, and Kāliya is also a black serpent. So here is a black god, and Yamuna is black because of her love for Krishna. That she had assumed that complexion. She's so absorbed in love. And Kāliya is black because he's absorbed in envy. Just the opposite. So all 3 have this black complexion in this pastime, and the 3 times the word Krishna is used in the very beginning of this chapter in the Sanskrit. So Kāliya, because of his envy, he could not perceive Krishna's beauty. Rather, he felt increasing anger within his heart, and thus it's mentioned that Kāliya immediately he came forward, he bit Krishna on the chest, and he immediately grabbed Krishna within his coils. So when the cowherd boys standing on the bank and the cows, their reaction has been mentioned. They just became, the cowherd boys, they became stunned out of fear. It's mentioned that Krishna, they had dedicated everything to Krishna. Krishna was their life and soul. So they fell unconscious. Earlier they had actually fell unconscious because of the poison. Now again they fell unconscious out of the great pain within their heart. And it's mentioned that the cows and the other calves who also saw Krishna within the coils of Kāliya, they just became so stunned, like the pictures painted. They just could not move. And they became so kind of statues. They look like statues. They just out of shock, they could not even shed tears, the cows, the calves. So in this way, their most beloved Krishna, they saw that he's in danger now. And while this is happening on the bank of Yamuna, back in Vrindavan, there are ill omens. There are meteors falling, the jackals are howling, and the left side of the men's body, the left organs, the left hand and the left leg and so on, they are quivering. So in this way, the many ill omens were noticed in Vrindavan. So now actually speaking, there could not be possibility of anything inauspicious. So these omens indicate there is something going to be inauspicious very soon, ill omens. But in Vrindavan, there is no possibility of any inauspicious thing taking place. So therefore, it's mentioned that Devatas, they created these omens just to assist Krishna's pastimes. Right? So therefore, these ill omens became visible. And then it's mentioned that immediately all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they became, all of them together, they became very concerned for Krishna. Now just imagine, there are ill omens, right? Something inauspicious can take place. Now, something inauspicious could be anything, right? There could be just a heavy rain, there could be flood, and the crops could be destroyed, or so on. Anything inauspicious could take place, but all of them together, simultaneously, as soon as they noticed ill omens, they all became concerned for Krishna welfare. Just see how much they have their hearts together attached to Krishna, right? How much commonly they share their love for Krishna. Everyone in their homes, they are not together, they are separately. Now, how much their hearts are one in their love for Krishna. That seeing the inauspicious omen, all the residents of Vrindavan, simultaneously, they all thought of Krishna's welfare. Okay? So therefore, they all became concerned, and they all came out, and they wanted to first see where is Krishna, whether he's safe. He has gone. So then they came to know that today Krishna has gone to the forest to herd the cows without Balram. Oh, that increased their fear like anything. Because Balram is known Bala. So Bala means he is very strong. Bal Adhikyam Bala Viduhu. It's mentioned one who has great Bala. That is how Garga Rishi he named Balram. Okay? He will give pleasure to all. That is Rama, and he has great strength. Therefore, he is Bala. Because he is very strong, he could protect Krishna as elder brother also. Right? And Krishna was thought to be, more restless, and Balram, being an elder brother, could handle a situation more maturely, and so on. Right? Krishna could go into danger because he's very naughty, and so on. So they all became concerned for Krishna's welfare, and knowing that Balramji is not there, that increased their anxiety, that heightened their anxiety. They became very anxious. So they all ran towards where Krishna, to trying to trace the whereabouts of Krishna. It's also interesting to note that Krishna chastised Aghasura, or he killed Aghasura, not just chastised. He killed Aghasura. That day Balramji was not there. It was his birthday. So he was held back by Rohini to give gifts, perform yajna, do the charity, yajna, dan, tapa, and so on. So, and this day also, Krishna wanted to chastise another snake. So one snake was killed. Balramji, with Adishesh, was also a great snake. The Adishesh, he was not taken along with him. Kāliya is being chastised. Again, his birthday. Right? So Krishna is performing this snake killing or snake chastising pastime in the absence of the Adishesh with the original snake. Right? This is something to be kind of noticed. Okay, so Balramji is not with Krishna, and this had increased the anxiety, and they all run towards now where to trace the Krishna's whereabouts. So it's mentioned that they all could trace Krishna, where has he gone, by seeing his unique footprints. Now it is described that they could see Krishna's footprints amidst the footprints of all the cows, cowherd boys, cows, calves. Just imagine, right? And there were thousands and lakhs of cows. And amidst all of them, Krishna's footprints were unique and they could trace. And it was an unwritten, unspoken, but unanimously followed rule that no one would step over Krishna's footsteps. Just imagine how much effort it would take not to step over Krishna's footsteps. And there's so many of them. So Krishna's footstep would always be visible, or how much a conscious a person will have to be. But it was just natural for them out of the love, right? Because they all love, and therefore none of them, you say, they were unconsciously competent not to step over Krishna's footprints. Right? So therefore Krishna's footprints could be traced out, and the Brajavasis all ran over there, and everyone is in grief, but Balramji, he is still smiling. Just imagine, all the Brajavasis now, they are about to reach the lake. They're in intense anxiety, but Balramji is still having a smiling countenance. And it is because Balramji knows, what are these insignificant snakes, right? I am Adishesh. So what can this little water snake can do to Krishna, who is my Lord and Master? I hold the universe on my head, and he is my master. So in this way, Balramji has a smiling countenance. He is not worried. And it is he who is going to actually control the Brajavasis, because now it's mentioned when all the Brajavasis, in the great anxiety, fear, they all reached the lake, and when they saw Krishna, within the coils of Kāliya, their lives was just coming out. All the cowherd men, they just wanted to enter the lake, but Balramji held them. Some people, Balramji held them by his glance. To others, Balramji spoke. He spoke that, don't worry, Krishna has killed so many demons, he could easily take care of him also. Others, like Nanda Maharaj and Upananda, who had great love for Krishna, Balramji had to physically hold them. They could not be pacified even by the words. So therefore, it was Balramji who held all the Brajavasis. And Mother Yashoda wanted to enter the lake, just imagine. But the other elderly gopis, whose hearts were also aggrieved equally, they tried to console and compose her. Right? How did they console Mother Yashoda? They began singing of Krishna's previous demon-killing pastimes. Right? So therefore, reminding that how Krishna could subdue so many demons. So therefore, Krishna will come out of this danger also. So the Lord's, when we are in trouble, right, we can actually recite the pastimes of Krishna, how Krishna, kills everything inauspicious, he kills all the demons and so on. So the Lord's pastime, his holy name, is a great solace for the devotees in this material world. So by reciting Krishna's pastime, all the other gopis, they gave solace. Another thing we also learn from here is, all these elderly gopis were equally aggrieved, but still they tried to console Mother Yashoda, who was more aggrieved. That means even when we are in some kind of difficulty, trouble, we should try to help those who are in a greater difficulty. That will also help us. Right? So therefore here, all the other elderly gopis, they consoled Mother Yashoda. And thus for 2 hours, Krishna remained in the coils of Kāliya, just imagine. And it's mentioned when the Brajavasis, they was just on the verge of dying, right? Then Krishna came out. So I was just listening to this pastime just some time back, just few weeks back, from His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, one of his recorded class, and he was making a comment. So I would just like to share that. He said, sometime Krishna makes his devotee desperate to the limit, right? He just makes his devotee desperate to the limit, and then he acts. Right? So this is how he does. Right? He brings out our, really that we cry out for him from the heart. When the life is just about to come out, kind of, we just can't live now without Krishna's mercy. So Krishna tests his devotees, he makes his devotee desperate to the limit. And then Krishna came out of the coils, he expanded his body, Kāliya could no longer hold him. Krishna came and stood before him, and the Kāliya tried to attack Krishna, but Krishna started dodging him. So now Kāliya is again and again running behind Krishna, and Krishna simply dodging him. So very playfully, Krishna reduced, Kāliya became just frustrated, He was a great mystic. Just imagine, a small boy is dodging every attack. Right? Krishna is not doing anything, simply dodging. So Kāliya's stamina and his, confidence, both became depleted by Krishna simply playfully dodging all the attacks of Kāliya. So now Kāliya had become frustrated, his stamina also reduced. Then Krishna, at this point of time, Krishna pushed with his hand one of Kāliya's hood and jumped. And then Krishna, Prabhupada writes, then he who is the original artist of all fine arts, and just see a beautiful phrase used by Prabhupada. Prabhupada's, narration, his purports are filled with many valuable jewels. Just like there are many valuable jewels on the hoods of Kāliya, right? Prabhupada has embellished his narration with many beautiful phrases. So then, I'm just reading the exact line from Krishna Book. Then he who is the original artist of all fine arts, such as dancing, began to dance upon the hoods of the serpent, which were moving to and fro. Now it is described that when a dancer has to dance, the dance floor has to be really sturdy. Right? Dance floor is the steadiest floor you have to make. If the dance floor is not sturdy, then the dancer is disturbed. So what to speak of now? This dance floor is slippery and it is moving. Kāliya's hoods. But Krishna is the original artist of all fine arts. Only he can dance on a moving, slippery floor and dance artistically, right? Not just try to balance himself. For others, they can't just even stand or balance. But Krishna prepared himself to dance. It's described that he tied his waist belt, tied his hair, properly. And when Krishna was about to dance, all the devatas, they all came and they brought their instruments. They began singing, right? Because the Lord is going to dance, so there has to be good orchestra, right? It was not ordinary orchestra. All the heavenly orchestra came to play for the Lord. And when will they get a chance to? The musicians also look forward for an opportunity to play for some great artists. And here is the original artist of all artists. So they are feeling privileged to perform, and play for Krishna. So the whole orchestra was ready and they brought many flowers. So now Krishna began to dance. And again, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, he commented, he said, Krishna was dancing to the perfect in tune with the songs, perfect in tune or perfect in harmony with the prayers, with the songs, and with the hoods of Kāliya, because Kāliya was bringing his hood. Krishna would jump on one hood, and Krishna's jumping was like a thunderbolt. It would smash the hood of a Kāliya. Prabhupada used the word dashing. Krishna was jumping from one hood to another hood, and that was like a dashing easy hood, right? Like a big thunderbolt on the hood. So Krishna was dancing in perfect tune, perfect sync to the hoods of Kāliya, to the songs, to the prayers, and to all the music being played, right? And on a moving floor, slippery floor. So therefore, Maharaj commented, he said, try to project this dance of Krishna on the screen of your heart by the projector of your ears and through the lens of your faith. I will repeat. So try to visualize this dance on the screen of your heart through the projector of the ears and through the lens of the faith. And you will find that this is the dance of all dance. No one has ever witnessed such a dance in the creation of Brahma. It was the most graceful, most artistic dance ever performed. And again the Acharyas comment that Krishna specially danced very artistically to give great pleasure to the hearts of the gopis, especially the young gopis, because they had received so much pain. Krishna has to compensate. So now he's giving them immense joy by doing this beautiful dance. So and finally, dancing from one hood to another hood, Krishna brought out all the poison from each hood of Kāliya. As soon as Kāliya would try to bite Krishna, Krishna would jump on that hood and subdue, and Kāliya, Krishna Kāliya would vomit out the poison. On whichever hood Krishna would jump, Kāliya would be vomiting out poison. And then Kāliya became so fatigued that, and Krishna was still dancing from one hood to another, that Kāliya started vomiting out blood at this point of time. And when that happened, now Kāliya was on the verge of dying. Kāliya was on the verge of dying. At this point of time, within his mind, he became humble and he expressed surrender through body language. So earlier it's mentioned that the wives of Kāliya, they thought this is an envious person, he's envious of Lord, let him die. But when they saw the signs of surrender, and it's mentioned, the wife can read the body language, the facial expression of the husband very well. So their wives, they could understand that now Kāliya is humble within his mind. So therefore, now they wanted to save him. So they came forth and they offered beautiful prayers to the Lord. So these are very elaborate prayers. I will just summarize the prayer in the few minutes. First of all, these prayers of the Bhagavatam can be studied theme-wise also. There are three main themes in these prayers. First of all, they glorify this punishment as mercy. In the first set of verses, they glorify this punishment given. They said, what you have done is most appropriate. This is your mercy to him, because it will rectify him. In fact, they say no one has achieved such a mercy. Who in this world can think of holding Krishna's lotus feet on one's head? The touch of Krishna's feet is so rare. What to speak of holding Krishna's feet? The touch of Krishna's lotus feet is so rare. What to speak of touch of Krishna's lotus feet? The dust of Krishna's lotus feet is so rare. So we are surprised. What has this Kāliya done? That you've given such mercy. God has a fortune prayed for this mercy. Kasyanubhavasya nadeva vidmahe tavangri renu sparshadikara. What has he done to have the fortune of holding your lotus feet on his head? We simply can't imagine. So they praised this mercy shown by the Lord, and then they glorified the Lord's Aishwarya in regards to the creation. How the Lord creates, how he is the master of the three modes of material nature, creation, maintenance, destruction come from him, he is the master of the time, and so on. So in regards to his, the material creation, his Aishwarya, they praise, because it's described that we should try to understand the Lord's extraordinary prowess before we can appreciate his sweetness. So time and again in Bhagavatam, there is a praise of Krishna extraordinary prowess in relation to this material creation. They praise it and they repeatedly offer their obeisances. And in the third section of the prayers, they plead the Lord to spare Kāliya's life. So, and the Lord very gratefully, he is always merciful to his devotees, and the Nagapatnis have been glorified. Jayo Duj Patni Jayo Naga Kanyagan Bhakti Te Jahara Pailo Govinda Charan. Right? Amongst the devotees of Vrindavan, their name appears, right? Among the prominent devotees of Vrindavan. So because of their devotion, they attained the lotus feet of the Lord, and the Kāliya was spared. And it's mentioned in the Kāliya also offered some prayers, just few verses. And the Acharya said he just paraphrased his wife's prayer. He had overheard something. He was partly conscious, right? So whatever he could hear, he just paraphrased. So even if we can't compose original prayers, just repeat the prayer of great devotees. So he followed in the footsteps of his wives, offered few prayers, whatever he could recall. But basically, he expressed that you have been very merciful to me. By birth, I have been envious and angry. But unless you show mercy, how can a person rectify one's nature? To this effect, he offered his prayers. And then the Lord told him that you should not stay here any longer. You should go back to the sea. But Kali had come from the sea to Kāliya lake in fear of Garuda. But the Lord told, now he will see the marks of my feet on her hood. So therefore, you have kind of a tilak, not one, hundreds of tilak. Kāliya is wearing practically on every prominent hood. Kāliya is wearing a tilak directly, permanently imprinted by the Lord. By seeing this tilak, the Garuda will pay obeisances. He will not touch you, right? He will pay you obeisances, understanding you to be a Vaishnava, right? And therefore, you have nothing to fear. Now you can leave. And in this way, the Kāliya and his wives, they again worship the Lord, express their gratitude, and they all departed to the sea. And just toward the end, the narration would be incomplete without saying that what does Kāliya represent? Because Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given that each demon represents some anartha. Kāliya represents envy and cruelty. They are related. And this anartha acts two ways, from within and from without. From within and from without. So our consciousness is polluted by envy towards others. Especially, we should not become envious towards any devotee. Kāliya, out of the envy, he had killed all the Brajvasis practically. So envy towards any devotee is most harmful. We should be very careful. And secondly, we have to be careful from outside, from the envy of others. Right? As I said, this anartha acts both ways, from within, from without. So from within, we should not be envious. From without, we should be careful so that other envious people do not poison our Krishna consciousness, our faith in the lotus feet of Krishna. Right? So atheistic theories, those who are blaspheming the devotees, there are so many blasphemous people in this world which can poison our faith towards Krishna consciousness, towards the Prabhupada, and so on. So therefore, the Kāliya represent that, and this anartha can be subdued if we allow Krishna to dance on the heads of our consciousness by chanting the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Hare Hare.
Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Sorry, I went a little over time.
No, Prabhuji, that was really very enlightening lecture, and including not only the pastimes, but the lessons that you included and the references that you included from various different acharyas that were really insightful. So thank you very much. You have some time to take questions as well, Prabhuji?
Oh, yes, I have time.
Okay.
This afternoon still, I have the whole day remaining with me.
Yes, so we can go on. Okay, so we have first question from Nitya Gopal Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, please go ahead. Just a minute, I'll enable unmuting. Yeah,
you can highlight.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the wonderful lecture. It was so enlightening. Prabhuji, I just have a question regarding Kāliya. Do we know who he was in his past life? Because he's an interesting demon. Because in one way
subject. That is the subject for tomorrow's class.
Ah, right.
So, so the history of Kāliya is the next chapter.
Ah, okay.
Extinguishing the forest fire. Another title of this chapter is the history of Kāliya.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So it will be covered tomorrow. So I don't want to, jump into tomorrow's katha.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Tomorrow's portion will be covered by Praneshwar Prabhu. So I will leave that for him. Hare
Okay.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Bharadwaja Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Thank you for the insightful lecture. Thank you. Prabhuji, my question is, like Kāliya represents enviousness. And so I'm just wondering, like, how enviousness work? Like, is it one way or is it two ways? Say, for example, there is a devotee A and devotee B. So if devotee A is envious towards devotee B, so obviously devotee A who is envious, there'll be an impact, like it's an offense. But does it actually impact the other devotee as well, devotee B as well, in any way?
See, I can just briefly try to answer. It's a big question, you know. I'm sure there are many seminars on this topic, you know, overcoming envy and all that. It could be entire session itself. Let me just try to briefly answer that the envy may creep within our heart, right? You know, within our heart for someone else. When we see, especially it has been seen that when devotees who are junior to us, you know, they progress in Krishna consciousness, they receive more mercy, then envy comes. And those who may have hurted us at time, and they may have hurted us knowingly, unknowingly, or we may have got hurted, it may not be their fault, whatever. When we see them getting a lot of mercy, again envy may come. So due to various reasons, envy may come within our heart. But a devotee, you know, for on our side, we should not feel that anyone can be envious of me. Right? Rather, we should, if I am feeling that someone is envy of me, that is reflecting my envy of my heart. So first of all, we should not feel anyone can be envious of me. That we should rule out as a person, as a Vaishnava, as a devotee. And I should be very careful to see that I can celebrate others' advancement. You know, whom I don't like, who may have been juniors. Okay? Sometimes we are just, you know, different natures. We don't get well together, and you know, it happens in the society of devotees. Therefore, you know, a person who may not get well with me may not be envious of me. Absolutely, right? So as such, so we should, anyone who is progressing in Krishna consciousness, whom I may like, whom I may consider, my mind may consider that person not be my friend or whatever, my rival, the creation of the mind, but I should be happy on seeing every devotee advancing in Krishna consciousness. And if I feel that some devotee is acting in a way which is seemingly envious, I should still not consider that person is envious of me. I may just see that this is how, you know, that's the nature of the person. He's not envious, that's how the person acts, that's the way of his speaking, you know, that's his kind of. We can give him the benefit of doubt and so on. That should be the attitude. Or if it is disturbing me too much, we can involve somebody to clarify the subject matter and not just judge someone to be envious of me. That should be the, I mean, that should not be the stance at all. Yeah. So this is just a few things I can say. It's a very broad subject matter.
Super. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I have a question. Yeah, in the beginning of the lecture, you mentioned that eagerness of our Krishna consciousness and our service attitude or whatever, that decreases over a period of time. Like in the beginning, we are very enthusiastic, and over a period of time, as the years pass, and the enthusiasm may reduce. So Prabhuji, why is that? And how can we actually maintain our enthusiasm individually as well as congregationally?
Yeah. Yeah. See, okay, let me try to briefly say something. See, first of all, when we come to Krishna consciousness, we are enthusiastic naturally. First of all, we have found something new, right? And anything new has some excitement to it. That is one reason. Secondly, because we haven't seen much, we are quite neutral. We are not judgmental, and we just respect everyone naturally. We are not judgmental about many people, many things. So therefore, because of that, because we are respectful towards everyone, right? Amanina mana dena, naturally, because the attitude is there, and because we have found a newfound excitement, newfound love or something, that creates some enthusiasm. But over a period of time, when we spend number of years, then we begin to judge things, begin to also, as the body grows old, we become familiar with many things. No longer, things excite us. So basically, you can say in the middle stage of Krishna consciousness, we need to work much harder to purify our consciousness. Right? So we have to work hard, put a lot of effort to earn that eagerness. So in the initial stages, we easily get it. The Lord is also merciful, and our attitude is positive. So for new entrants, there is a special concession also by the Lord. Concession mercy is there, but then you have to pay the price. We have to pay the price. We have to earn it. So we have to struggle hard. So we have to struggle hard to earn it, and see that we So as we purify our consciousness by deepening our Krishna consciousness, right? That means we have to see that I am putting more effort to improve my chanting, my reading, my service to devotees, and so on, right? Increasing effort, and I'm increasingly concerned about the purity of my consciousness, then the Lord will award that eagerness. So that needs to be earned by most devotees, and it's a little harder phase. The middle phase is a harder phase. So therefore, there is either a plateau region, or probably there are not much scope for a plateau region. Usually, you're either progressing or declining. Usually, so therefore, many a times the eagerness comes down and so on due to certain reasons. I have said there could be some more reasons, but this much just comes to my mind.
Thank
you can share. You can also share. You have been maintaining enthusiasm and eagerness for a long time, so share your insights, and you can invite other devotees also. I'm sure many of you are practicing Krishna consciousness very seriously, and you all have great realizations. I would also be very happy to hear from you all. Maybe this question can be answered by yourself and other few devotees also. You all can share something to benefit me also.
Really, I maintain my enthusiasm by associating with devotees like you who are doing a lot of service, and I just look at the services of the devotees that other devotees who are doing, and I think that, oh, I have so much more scope to do, and I do not have that much time available. So how can I actually do more and more and more? Like that, I look at and try to implement in my life. So that is how I try to do it. And that is why I come to Vrindavan, Mayapur, Pune, Mumbai, like that, and meet various devotees and try to get some enthusiasm from them and knowledge from them. So that's my secret. Anyone else wants to share something?
You can invite some devotees if you like. It'll be good.
If anyone wants to say something, you can.
You can say a name and invite some devotees. Otherwise, devotees may feel shy.
Nritti Gopal Prabhu, you are here in the movement more than longer than me. Maybe you can share something.
Prabhu, I am probably, it's like asking, if you go to a mental asylum, and you ask that depressed person, how is it that you're maintaining your enthusiasm? That that person will say, that he is the wrong person to ask actually, because he's the most depressed. So like that, I'm very depressed in my Krishna consciousness. But due to doctors like yourself and Prabhuji and all the guests that are coming, I'm able to recover slowly. So yeah, just through your association and association of Prabhuji, as you mentioned.
Bharadwaji Prabhu, I think you do the most service in our congregation here. Possibly you can mention, where do you get that enthusiasm to do that much service?
Prabhuji, you're asking the wrong person, but whatever that 1% of what we do, compared to you, Prabhuji, we are looking at you only, Prabhuji. Looking at you, and the time that you spend, and we are nowhere comparable actually. Yeah. So your inspiration is yours, and also all the Maharajas, how they travel all across, and our Guru Maharaj, how they travel, continuously day in, day out. And even despite their health conditions, despite their whatever problems they have, COVID situation, irrespective of what's happening in the world, but they still persist. They find new ways to reach out to us. It's not like we are trying to reach out, but they are trying to reach out to us. So that is great inspiration.
Whoever is feeling they are not the right person to ask, they are the most appropriate ones.
Anangmanjari, you want to say something?
Me, I'm taking the inspiration from all the devotees who I'm associating with. So all the congregation devotees, they give me the inspiration to do the service and remain enthusiastic. That's how. And even the early disciples of Srila Prabhupada, I like to hear their stories where they have given so much for our movement. And hearing their stories, then I understand that I'm in the best situation, but still I'm doing very little. So that keeps my enthusiasm on. And I get my most inspiration from my children as well. They are the source of my inspiration.
Wow.
All the small children from our congregation, when they take up to the Krishna consciousness and how quickly they are progressing, looking at that, I get very much enthusiasm for my devotional service.
Hare Krishna, thank you for that motherly answer. Happy to see you.
Thank you, Roy. Yeah, it's very nice, Prabhuji, to hear from you. The class was really very wonderful, and the lessons, they're very nice, Prabhuji. We'll try to implement the lessons.
Hare Krishna, you bless me, I can follow what I say.
Oh, Krishna Prabhuji, it should be the other way.
Damodar Prabhuji, I have one more question if you don't mind.
Okay.
Prabhuji, I think towards the end you were mentioning about how Kāliya is representing the envious people polluting our consciousness.
Yeah.
So in the congregation as well, like you actually took it from the perspective that how atheistic people or people who can pollute our consciousness and maybe take us away from Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking from the devotee congregation perspective as well, or devotee community perspective, how can we actually make sure that the envious nature doesn't get passed from one devotee to another, and then that doesn't spread? So what should be the consciousness of the person who's saying something, and what should be the consciousness of the person who's hearing anything like that, and how can they protect both of them, what they can do to protect themselves?
Again, I'm just saying one statement of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. He was specially cautioning us in his class regarding the websites which blaspheme many devotees. He was saying that all these websites, thousands of them, they are like 1,000 hooded Kāliya, which can actually poison our consciousness. So we have to be very careful. So first of all, we have to be very much cautious about it. And as soon as we see that, as soon as we sense there is something unpleasant, right? That you could have sensed from a distance, there is something here unpleasant. So I should remember. See, when we are reading scriptures, that means our intelligence should become very sharp and cautious. And we should become very cautious, and our intelligence should become very sharp and alert to protect us from the falling into such a trap. So by regularly hearing, reading of Prabhupada books, hearing from devotees, our intelligence will become sharp, alert, and as soon as we sense that there is some poison over there, we should immediately step back. We should immediately step back from there and protect our consciousness. But still, if we have inhaled some fumes which are, if not killing, but which are suffocating us, we should take the fresh breath, oxygen full association of devotees who can breathe in fresh life to us, right? With pure descriptions of the Supreme Lord, with pure Prabhupada Katha, and so on. So we have to be, it's our responsibility to be alert, cautious, and something happens. If we detect any disease or any problem in the early stages, it can be treated very well. So therefore, early detection will be a good way to cure it fast also.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prabhuji. Like early detection, as well as if there are fumes gone in, then you have to actually breathe in some fresh air from by the association of devotees. That was a very wonderful solution that you have given. Prabhuji, because you give a lot of seminars on devotee care, is there, like, I know that that's many days of seminar that you take, but is there like a gist of devotee care, like one or two main important points that you want to share with all of us in the congregation, which are the most important points from the devotee care?
Maybe in the future we can have a 45 minutes orientation. What is the devotee care all about? I gave one talk recently in Ahmedabad, and then the devotees, they became inspired and they said we will have a full course in the future. And so I will just be going in this very month only. So sometime back I had given a orientation talk. They really liked it. So I can give in the future a orientation talk just about the devotee care, what is devotee care all about. But since you have said to respect what you have said, let me say one or two lines at least about care for the devotees. It is basically, we just need to realize, I'm just speaking again one statement of a senior devotee. We need to realize that we have to express our love for the soul through the via media of the body, the mind, in which the soul is there. Right? So the expression of it. So therefore, taking care of one's body, the devotee's body, their mind, their emotions, their social well-being, physical well-being, emotional well-being. So all of it is also related to the spiritual well-being. So our concern for the soul is reflected in how also we take care of devotees' physical, social, emotional, intellectual well-being. So therefore, it's all around well-being of a devotee. So it's a very comprehensive course. Right? And recognizing the need, defining what is devotee care all about, because we may all have different understanding of devotee care. So the devotee care course is all about having the clarity and conviction about devotee care. That's the one part, having the clarity and conviction about devotee care, and then having the right people and the right plan for devotee care. So this is in gist. Right? So to be effective, you may just have the idea and the conviction, but how is it going to happen in a practical way? So therefore, the right people and the right plan, and the clarity and the conviction. So these four things together, actually, we can roll out many devotee care initiatives, and the whole devotee care course is about these four. 4
Thank you.
aspects.
Yeah. And
Thank you.
I'll take that the offer that you have given to
Yeah,
do
we
that
can have
4 weeks.
some talk
Yes.
about devotee care.
Prabhuji, one more question, hand has gone up. If you still have some time, Bharadwaja Shri Prabhu has raised his hand, so maybe he has some follow-up question.
Sorry, not a question, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Not a question, Prabhuji, but
Yeah.
you know, a few years ago, you know, we were watching this video on National Geographic, where
Yeah.
you know, it especially talked about you know, more than 5,000 or 10,000 devotees gone on yatra, especially Radhanath Maharaja's group. So that group, you know, when we looked at the kitchen, how they arranged and, you know, how they packed up, they go to different places. That was amazing, Prabhuji. And finally, it was so good to see you in person, that, you know, who the creator of that system. So amazing, Prabhuji. Thank you. So that was inspiring. It like really touched us, like, you know, how devotees, like, you know, they're using their intellect in creating such a system where thousands of devotees can actually go for yatra without feeling like, you know, it's like feeling at home, right? So it's like you can totally focus on the Lord instead of worrying about the accommodation, worrying about the food and all that. But amazing service that you have all done, Prabhuji. Really appreciate that. Really nice.
Hare Krishna. By blessings of the devotees like you, able to do little seva.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Damodar Prabhuji.
Thank you.
And
Thank you,
we are
Amrish
very,
Maharaj Prabhu.
we are very
Thank you, all of
grateful.
you.
We are very grateful, Prabhuji, that you have come and you have spent your valuable time and for enlightening us. And we are hoping that in future as well, you can find some time for all of us and we can hear more about devotee care from you next time. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare
His
Krishna.
Grace Damodar Prabhuji ki Jai. To show our appreciation, let's chant one more time Hare Krishna Mahamantra for Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama,
Hare Gauranga.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you all.
Praise Damodar Prabhu ki
Jai.
Jai.
Hare.